That is exactly what happened to Caleb. Weeks before their wedding, a truck ran a red light and changed everything. His fiancée, Maya, woke up from a coma and didn't just forget him. She screamed at him to get out. To her, the love of her life was nothing more than a terrifying stranger standing by her hospital bed. Most men would have walked away. Most would have accepted that the woman they loved was gone forever. But Caleb didn't. Instead of trying to force her to remember the past, he decided to do something impossible. He decided to date her again, from scratch, one donut at a time. This is a story about memory, heartbreak, and the terrifying beauty of choosing to stay. Let's listen. They tell you that heartbreak is a metaphor, that your heart doesn't actually break. They're wrong. I heard mine. It sounded like a scream. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind of gray, flat morning that smells like antiseptic and stale coffee. I had been living in that vinyl chair next to her bed for 3 months, 8 days, and 4 hours. I knew the rhythm of her breathing better than I knew my own name. I was holding her hand. Her fingers were thin now, pale. I was telling her about the weather. "It's raining again, Maya," I whispered, my forehead resting against the metal rail of the bed. "It's reading weather." And then she squeezed back. Not a twitch, a squeeze. I froze. I lifted my head, and I saw it, the miracle. Her eyes, those warm, honey brown eyes that I had proposed to on a windy beach, they were open. They were looking right at me. For 1 second, one single, glorious, perfect second, my world put itself back together. The truck, the twisted metal, the coma, it was all over. She was back. "Maya?" My voice cracked. I stood up, my legs shaking. "Baby? You're awake." I reached for her face. My hand was trembling. I just wanted to touch her cheek, to feel the warmth of her life returning. And that's when the world broke for the second time. Her eyes didn't fill with love. They didn't fill with relief. They filled with terror. She scrambled back against the pillows, ripping the IV line taut. She clutched the thin hospital blanket to her chest like a shield, her eyes wide, feral, like a trapped animal. "Who are you?" she screamed. Her voice was raw, unused, but loud. "Why are you in my bed? Get away from me!" I froze. My hand hovered in midair, inches from the face of the woman I was supposed to marry in 3 weeks. "Maya, it's me," I stammered. "It's Caleb." "I don't know you." She grabbed a plastic pitcher of water from the tray and hurled it. It hit my chest, soaking my shirt, clattering to the floor. "Help! Somebody help me! There's a man in here!" Nurses burst into the room. Dr. Vance followed. Maya's parents, Sarah and David, who had been getting coffee, came running down the hall. Her mother rushed to the bed. "Maya, sweetheart, it's okay. You're safe." Maya clung to her mother, sobbing, shaking violently. She pointed a trembling finger at me. "Mom, who is he? Why was he touching me? Make him leave. Please, make him leave." I stood there, water dripping down my shirt, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I looked at her father, David. He looked at me with pure, helpless pity. "Caleb," he said softly, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Son, maybe you should step outside." I looked at Maya one last time. She wasn't looking at me. She was burying her face in her mother's shoulder, hiding from the monster, hiding from me. I backed out of the room. I walked down the hallway, past the nurse's station, past the get-well-soon balloons. I walked until my legs gave out, and I slid down the wall next to the vending machine. 3 years, 5 months, an engagement ring sitting in a velvet box in my sock drawer. A lifetime of memories, gone. She didn't just forget me, she was terrified of me. To understand why that scream destroyed me, you have to understand who we were. You have to understand what she forgot. I'm Caleb. I'm 28. I fix things. That's my job. I'm a contractor. I fix sagging porches. I silence rattling pipes. I make broken houses whole again. It's simple work. Honest. Maya was the opposite of simple. She was magic. She was 27 and she worked at the Dusty Page, a little independent bookstore downtown that smelled like vanilla and old paper. We met because her bathroom sink was leaking. I showed up with my toolbox. She opened the door wearing oversized glasses and a t-shirt that said, "I like big books and I cannot lie." I looked at the sink. It was a mess. "How long has this been leaking?" I asked. "Define leaking," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Is it an aggressive drip or a weeping sorrow?" I looked up. She was smiling, a crooked, mischievous smile that hit me right in the chest. "It's a weeping sorrow," I said, playing along, "but I can fix it." "Good," she said, "because I'm useless with wrenches. I tried to fix it with a poem, but the pipe wasn't impressed." I fixed the sink in 20 minutes. She paid me with a cup of coffee that was way too strong and a conversation that lasted 3 hours. I forgot I had another job to go to. I forgot about lunch. I just sat there, listening to her talk about magical realism and why paperbacks are superior to hardcovers. A year later, I proposed. It wasn't fancy. We didn't have the money for fancy. I saved for 6 months to buy the ring, a small vintage sapphire, because she said diamonds were boring. We were on the beach near Half Moon Bay. The wind was whipping her hair into a frenzy. It was cold. It was perfect. I dropped to one knee in the wet sand. "Maya, I can't write poetry, and I don't know much about magical realism, but I know I want to fix your sinks and kill the spiders and listen to you talk for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" She didn't just say yes. She tackled me. We fell into the sand, laughing, kissing, the ocean roaring its approval. We planned the wedding for the fall, a backyard thing. String lights, tacos, simple. Then came the weekend at Lake Berryessa. It was supposed to be a break. Just us, a blanket, and a bottle of cheap champagne. I was driving. She had her feet on the dashboard, singing along to Taylor Swift, off-key and loud. She looked at me. That look, the one that said, "I am so happy to be here with you." I love you, Caleb. I love you too, Maya. The truck ran the red light. I didn't even see it. I just heard the sound. Metal screaming, glass shattering, the world spinning sideways. Then silence. I woke up with a broken arm and a concussion. Maya didn't wake up for 3 months. Traumatic brain injury. The doctors told us to wait, so I waited. I lived in that chair, and now she was awake, but she wasn't back. Dr. Vance sat us down. "She has retrograde amnesia," he said. "It's selective and severe. She remembers high school, but the last 4 years, they're blank." "So she doesn't remember us?" I asked. "She thinks she's 23, Sarah said, crying. "She thinks she just graduated college. She thinks I'm a stranger," I whispered. "It's worse than that," David said heavily. "To her, you're a strange man who was holding her hand and calling her baby when she woke up. She feels violated. She's scared, son. Will it come back? Maybe. Maybe never. But right now, you cannot force it. If you try to force her to remember, you will only traumatize her further." I walked out of the hospital that night. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for 4 hours. I went home to our apartment. It was quiet. Too quiet. Her book was still on the nightstand. Her toothbrush was in the cup. I lay on the bed. Our bed. And I felt like an intruder. She was alive. She was breathing. But the woman who loved me, she died in that crash. I cried until my throat burned. And then the sun came up. And with the sun came a thought. A stubborn, stupid, desperate thought. She fell in love with me once. I wasn't rich then. I wasn't a poet. I was just a guy with a toolbox and a bad joke. If she did it once, could she do it again? I wouldn't try to bring the old Maya back. I would just date the new one. The next morning, I stopped at the bakery on 4th Street. I bought 2 donuts. Strawberry glazed with sprinkles. Her favorite. I shaved in the hospital bathroom. I combed my hair. I put on a clean shirt. I walked to her room. Maya was sitting up in bed. The TV was on. When she saw me, she flinched. She pulled the blanket up to her chin. Her eyes went wide with that same fear. You, the bed guy? I stopped at the doorway. I raised my hands, showing I was unarmed, except for the white paper bag. Hi, I'm Caleb. I know. My mom told me. You're the guy from the accident? I am. But before that, I'm just a guy who lives 5 streets over. I fix things. Air conditioners, leaky faucets. She stared at me suspicious. What do you want? Nothing, I said. I felt bad about yesterday. I scared you. I didn't mean to. I was confused too. I brought a peace offering, I said, lifting the bag. Donuts, strawberry glazed with sprinkles. She blinked. Her eyes darted to the bag. How did you know? Know what? That those are my favorite. I shrugged. Lucky guess? Everybody likes sprinkles. I set the bag on the rolling tray at the foot of her bed. I'm gonna leave these right here. No pressure. If you want me to go, say the word and I disappear. She looked at the bag, then at me. She was assessing me, not as a memory, but as a stranger. My mom says we were close, she said. We were friends, I said. Good friends. She showed me pictures. You look happier in the pictures. I had a better haircut then, I joked. A tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth. Not a smile, but not a scream. I'm gonna go, I said, backing up. Enjoy the donuts, Maya. Wait, she said. Why did you come back after I screamed at you? I looked at her. I wanted to say, because you are my life. But I couldn't. I told you, I said, smiling. I fix things. Whatever breaks, I stick around until it's working again. I turned and walked out. But as I turned the corner, I heard the rustle of a paper bag opening. That was day 1. Day 2, I brought coffee, oat milk, 2 sugars. How did you know? She asked. I'm a contractor. I notice details. You look like an oat milk kind of person. Day 3, I brought a book, The Night Circus. I found this at the used bookstore downtown. The guy with the cat on the counter said it was good. She ran her hand over the cover. Her eyes lit up. I feel like I've read this, but I can't remember the ending. Well, I said, sitting in the vinyl chair, but keeping a respectful distance. Now you get to read it for the first time again. I'm jealous. Day 7. The air conditioner in her room started rattling. It was making a horrible grinding noise. Maya was clutching her head, clearly in pain. I rang the nurse. They said maintenance is backed up for hours. Step aside, I said. I pulled my multi-tool from my belt. What are you doing? She asked. I told you. I fix things. It took me 10 minutes. A loose fan blade. I tightened it, secured the casing with a bit of duct tape I had in my pocket. The rattling stopped. I climbed down, wiping dust off my hands. Better? She was staring at me. Her arms were crossed, one eyebrow raised. You weren't kidding. You actually are handy. Certified, I grinned. You know, she said quietly, you don't have to keep coming here. I'm not her, Caleb. I'm not the girl in the pictures. My heart squeezed. I know. Then why? Why spend your mornings sitting in a hospital room with a stranger? I sat on the edge of the chair. Maybe I'm getting fond of the stranger, I said. She's got good taste in donuts, and she hates rattling air conditioners. She rolled her eyes, but she didn't look away. You're weird, Caleb Evans. Yeah, I've heard that. By week 3, the fear was gone. It was replaced by something else, curiosity. She started asking questions. So you fix houses. Do you build them too? Sometimes. I built a deck last summer. Let me see your hands. I held out my hand. She took it, her skin against mine. It was electric. I had to remind myself to breathe. She traced the small scar on my thumb. You should be more careful, she murmured. I'm trying, I said, looking at her. I'm being very, very careful. November came. The maple trees turned the color of fire. Maya was discharged. I helped David load the car. You're coming over, right? Maya asked me as she got into her parents' car. To, help get settled. I'll be there, I said. Her parents' house was exactly as I remembered, but to Maya, it was alien. She stood in the foyer looking at the photos on the wall. It's pretty, she whispered to me, but it doesn't feel like mine. Give it time, I said. The first week she was home, I was there every day. I became the handyman again. I fixed the loose banister, I weatherproofed the back door. It was an excuse. We both knew it. One afternoon, she found me on a ladder cleaning the gutters. My dad was going to hire someone for that, she called up. I'm cheaper, I called back, and better looking. She laughed. 10 minutes later, she came out to the porch. She had 2 mugs of coffee. Black, 2 sugars, she said, handing one to me. I froze. That was my order. How did you know? I asked, my voice trembling. She shrugged. I don't know. It just felt right. She sat on the porch swing. I sat next to her. Not touching, just close. Caleb? Yeah? Did we used to sit here? Before? Yeah, we did. I thought so, she said softly. When I sit here, I don't feel like a stranger. I feel safe? She looked at me. Did I love you? The question hung in the cool autumn air. Yes, I said. You did. And did you love me? I put my coffee down. I turned to her. Maya, I never stopped. She held my gaze. She looked sad. I wish I could remember. I feel like I'm cheating you. You're looking at me and you're seeing her, the girl who remembered, and I'm just the shell. No, I said firmly. You are not a shell. You're Maya. You're the girl who laughs at my bad jokes. You're the girl who noticed how I take my coffee. I'm not waiting for her to come back, Maya. I'm falling for you, the you that is sitting right here, right now. She looked at our joined hands. Okay, she whispered. Then keep doing it. Keep falling. Winter came. We started going on dates. Real dates. I took her to the park. I brought 2 old bicycles I'd tuned up. Hers was pink with a basket. Ear-kaying, she said, eyeing the bike. Nope. Doctor said gentle exercise is good. And if you fall, I'm buying ice cream. Deal. We rode along the river path. She was wobbly at first, but then she started laughing. The wind whipped her hair loose. For a second, riding side by side with the river sparkling, it felt like nothing had changed. Then she looked over at me, her smile fading a little, and I knew she felt it too. The ghost of a memory she couldn't quite touch. One rainy Thursday, the power went out in her neighborhood. Her parents were out. I showed up with a flashlight. She met me at the door wearing my old hoodie. She'd found it in the guest closet. "Generators being dramatic," she said, shining the light under her chin like a kid. "Generators are always dramatic," I said. "It's in their contract." We got the power back on. When the lights flickered, we were standing in the kitchen. Close. I could smell the rain in her hair. "Thanks," she said quietly. "Anytime." She didn't move back. For a second, I thought she might lean in. Instead, she looked away fast, cheeks pink. I should check the fridge. The hard days still came. Some evenings she'd get quiet, staring at old photos of us like they were pictures of strangers. One Saturday in April, I found her sitting on the floor of the living room. She had found the box. The small cedar box I'd built the year we moved in together. It was full of our trash. Ticket stubs, notes, the dried flower from the day I proposed, and a little ring made of braided grass I'd made her on a hike once. She was holding the grass ring, turning it over and over. Her eyes were red. "All of this," she said, her voice trembling, "it's real, isn't it?" I nodded, my throat tight, every bit. "You kept the dumbest things," she whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek. "They weren't dumb to me." She picked up a folded piece of notebook paper, a note I'd written her the night before the accident. "I owe Maya 100 dishes for being wrong about pineapple on pizza. Also, I owe her my heart for the rest of my life." She read it twice. She looked up at me, eyes shining. "I don't remember writing you back." "You didn't get the chance." She closed the box. She stood up. "Walk with me." We walked to the creek behind the house. We took off our shoes and waded into the cold water. We stood there, the current rushing over our feet. "If I never remember," she said, barely louder than the water, "if I never remember the beach or the fights or the proposal, will you still want this? Will you still want me?" She gestured between us. "Not the girl in the pictures, the one standing here who doesn't know what your favorite song is." I waded closer to her. I took both her hands. "Maya, listen to me. I loved the girl who threw a soda can at my head the day we met. I loved the girl who cried at dog movies. But I also love the girl who is standing here right now, the one who paints benches blue, the one who steals my hoodies. I'm not waiting for the old you. I'm already in love with the new one." "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if I'm not enough?" "You are enough," I said. "You are everything. If you remember, we deal with it. If you never remember, then we make new memories. We fill the book with new pages. I'm not asking for the past, Maya. I'm asking for right now." She stared at me, searching for a lie, finding none. Then she leaned forward, slow, deliberate, and she kissed me. It wasn't a memory. It was new. It tasted like salt and strawberry lip balm. It was soft and trembling and terrifyingly real. When she pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "I don't know what I did to deserve you twice," she whispered. "You didn't have to do anything," I whispered back. "Just be you."
We stayed there until the sun dipped low. Later that night, walking back to her parents' house, she stopped on the sidewalk. "Josh," she said. "Yeah?" "I'm not ready to call you my fiancé yet. That feels unearned. But I am ready to call you mine, if you'll have me." I smiled so wide it hurt. "I've been yours since the day I fixed your sink. Nothing's changed." She laughed, that full, bright sound I hadn't heard in a year, and kissed me again, right there under the street lamp. The past was gone, but the future had just begun. Summer came back to Sacramento. We rented a little house on 32nd Street, just us. We painted the kitchen sage green because she said it felt like hope. Her memories never came back fully, just flashes, the smell of popcorn, a song. But the 3 years we lost, they stayed lost. The doctors called it permanent. We called it a fresh start. On the morning of her 28th birthday, 1 year since she woke up, I woke up before the sun. By the time she walked into the kitchen, yawning, wearing my t-shirt, the backyard was transformed. White string lights, paper lanterns, a table covered in donuts, friends, family, everyone was there. "What did you do?" she asked, eyes wide. "A welcome back party," I said, celebrating the version of you that stuck around. Later that night, after everyone left, we sat on the porch swing. The air smelled like cut grass and sugar. "So," she said, looking at me sideways, "I've been thinking. Dangerous habit." She bumped my shoulder. "If one day the memories come back, the fights, the bad stuff, what happens then?" I turned to face her. "Then we deal with it. We add new chapters to the old ones. You're not a replacement, Maya. You're the upgrade." She smiled. "I love you," she said, plain and clear. "Not the ghost of who I was, the me that's here, the me that chose you." I leaned in. "I love you too. First time, second time, every time." She kissed me then, slow and certain. "Think we can keep choosing each other?" she asked. "Every single day." I said. She stood up, held out her hand. "Come on, the dishes aren't going to wash themselves." I groaned dramatically, but I let her pull me inside. The porch light stayed on behind us, warm and steady. We never got back the years we lost, but we got something better. Years we built on purpose, brick by brick, laugh by laugh, choice by choice. And in the end, that turned out to be the love story we were always meant to have. The one where we loved each other enough to start over. The one where we never stopped.